Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. This evening, we are running a speech contest. This is where we're going to learn what to do, what not to do. And whether you're running a contest as a chairperson or the TMOD, running the speech contest is a balancing act. You want to have an enjoyable event for the audience, but you must have a fair contest for the participants. Our presenter this evening is the District 58 Club Growth Director, Bob Swarner. He has a master's degree in electrical engineering and is currently working as a computer specialist for NCR. From the club level to the division level, he has organized and run numerous speech contests. This evening, he will share some lessons learned, give you helpful tips for running a successful contest, and he will facilitate discussion. Without further ado, please welcome your presenter, Bob Swarner.
All right, everybody. It's virtual, so I'm imagining a whole audience all applauding for me right now. So let's get started. Conducting quality speech contests, what we're going to do is go over some of the basic rules, some of the things to watch for, some of the problems that we run across, and how to solve those. Let me make sure. We'll talk over the types and the benefits of speech contest, some preparation, and then some of the basic speech contest rules. And if you walk away with one thing from this presentation, what I want you to know is get the speech contest rule book. Most of the area division directors should have an electronic copy of it, or you can download it, the PDF of it, for free, and then either print it out or use it online and read it. This goes for anybody involved in the contest, from the officials, the judges, even the contestants need to read this to make sure everybody fully understands all the rules. So the types of speech contests. We do 4 speech contests, as is allowed by Toastmasters. Every district has to do at least an international speech contest. In addition to the speech contest, you can run up to, hi Elena, you can run up to 3 additional contests. So in the winter and spring, we, in addition to the international, we also do the table topics contest. In the summer and fall, you know, we do the humorous and the evaluation contest. There are other contests available to do with Tall Tales contest, and there's a tape contest. If you're a member of an undistricted club, you're far away from anybody else, you don't have a district to have a contest. So as I mentioned, districts must hold international speech contests every year, and you can hold up to 3 additional. Eligibility is a key thing with contests. You need to make sure your contestants are eligible to compete, and you need to make sure all your judges are eligible to judge. All those are spelled out very carefully and very detailed in the contest rule book. In particular, something that bit us in the wintertime, in the spring, fall, you have to make sure everybody is a paid member of a club, and that club is a member in good standing on the day of the contest. Now, in the fall, we had a big kerfuffle because we had the contest on the day the dues were due, and there was no grace period. So it turns out one of the winners at the going to district, their club did not pay all their dues on time, so we had to disqualify that candidate because their club was not in good standing on the day of the contest. So just make sure if you're competing, you're in good standing and your club is good standing at every step of the way. Here's something that I see people doing wrong quite a bit, and that is time for judges. As spelled in the rule book, there will be 1 minute of silence between contestant speeches, during which voting judges and tie-breaking judge will mark their ballots. When the last contestant finishes speaking, the contest chair will ask for silence until the counters have collected all the ballots. Those are directly from the rule book. You notice there's nowhere in there that says you can ask the judges if they need more time, because that forces the judges to raise their hand or somehow acknowledge that they are a judge. So you never ask a judge if they need more time. They get 1 minute between speeches, and they have as much time as they need at the end until all the ballots are collected. I see this. I was taught to do this differently. I see other people still doing it differently. Does everybody understand what the rule book says? Awesome. All right, club contest. Each club in good standing is permitted to choose its contestant for each area speech contest by whatever means the club desires. So a club does not necessarily have to have a contest. The club, especially if they only have one person that wants to go to the area contest, that club can just appoint that person to go forward, and that's perfectly allowable. However, if you do have a contest, it must comply with all the rules in the rule book. That means if a club has one contestant and they say, no, we're going to be official and have a contest, and that one contestant times out, that means he cannot move forward or she cannot move forward. So be very careful at your club contest. If you don't have to have a contest, you can have the club appoint the person to move forward and then have them demonstrate their speeches for you, but that's not a contest. And that way, if they go over time, they're not disqualified because that wasn't a contest. Now, moving forward to area contests, we had a lot of questions about this. All right. 8 weeks prior to the area contest, if an area has 4 assigned clubs or fewer in good standing, districts have the option to allow 2 contestants from each club to compete in the area contest. So a couple things to note here is District 58 does exercise that option, and if you're in an area that has 4 or fewer clubs, you may send 2 people from each club. The important thing there is, since clubs are sometimes being added to areas and sometimes clubs are not in good standing, they're being suspended. So the point to worry about is 8 weeks prior to the area contest, how many clubs were in that area in good standing? And that determines whether you can send 1 contestant to the area contest or 2. Moving forward to division, the rule is very similar. In divisions with 4 assigned areas or less, districts have the option to allow the 2 highest placed available contestants from each area to compete. And the same thing, District 58 does exercise that option. If you have a division that has 4 or fewer areas, you can send 2 people from each area to that division contest. I'm sorry, Division D, that's the one division that we have that has 5 areas. If you're in Division D, each area can only send 1 contestant to the Division D contest. All the other divisions, each area can send its 2 highest placed contestants that are willing to compete to the division contest. Just to complete this loop, moving forward to this district, the rule is the same thing. In districts with 4 assigned divisions or less, districts have the option to allow 2 highest placed contestants. However, that does not apply to us as we have 7 divisions. So each division can only send 1 contestant from each division forward, 1 for each contest. All right, we're going to play a game here. We're going to have you guys participate. May clubs, areas, divisions, or district produce awards for contestants and winners. Anybody have a guess?
Yes.
Yes. Brad says yes. I say that. And the answer is yes. You can produce awards.
Just can't have Toastmasters.
If you're going to buy your own trophies from Ralph's Trophy Shop down the street, not from Toastmasters, then it cannot say Toastmasters. It cannot have the Toastmasters logo on it. One of the things we'll talk about later there are contest kits that include PDFs of TI-approved certificates. So that's what most clubs and areas and even divisions will do, is print those certificates and have those available to give to the winners of the contest. There'll also be certificates for the participants of each contest. However, you can either buy the trophies if you choose to from TI, but if you do it yourself, then it cannot have the TI branded logo on it. For the district and the division contests, the trio will purchase and provide trophies for the first, second, and third place winners of each contest. So you don't, for the division level and of course the district level, you guys don't have to worry about that. We'll still want you to print your certificates at the division level though. All right. Your contest chair. When should you notify the contestants of the time and place of the contest and pre-contest briefing?
Early as possible.
As early as possible. It certainly shouldn't be less than 2 weeks. If you've given people less than 2 weeks notice to make sure they can clear their schedules to be there, then you need to plan better. But as soon as you know the time and place of the contest, go ahead and let all the contestants know. All right, let's talk about judges for a little bit. Chief judge. Chief judge is selected by the contest chair, and the chief judge helps to select fair and impartial judges. Now, the chief judge will also select a tie-breaking judge. We'll talk about that more in a little bit. The chief judge is responsible for making sure the judges, the ballot counters, the timers are all trained and understand what they're supposed to do. And there's tools available from TI. There's the judge's guide and ballot, and how to choose a winner without evaluating speakers. How to choose a winner without evaluating speakers. All right. Tie-breaking judge. Tie-breaking judge is a judge who's known only to the chief judge. In fact, the ballot counters don't even collect the tie-breaking judge's ballot form because in theory they don't even know who it is. The tie-breaking judge will give their ballot form directly to the chief judge. Now, one special thing, they have a special ballot form. You know, judges, I don't know if you've seen it, will rank people 1, 2, and 3. Doesn't matter how many people are participating in the contest, they just rank 1, 2, and 3. The tie-breaking judge will rank all the contestants from the top to the bottom, because we never know who's going to need the tie-breaking judge. Right? If the tie-breaking judge only ranks 1, 2, and 3, but one of the persons they don't select is someone who needs the tie, then it's not useful. That's why they have to rank one all the way from top to bottom. And it is important. I was actually privileged to be a ballot counter at the semifinal contest at International Convention. And there was a tie between number 3 and number 4. And they had to break out the tie-breaking ballot. So that tie-breaking judge actually made a difference between who stood on the stage with a trophy and who didn't. So tie-breaking judge can be very important. So you're the chief judge and you're briefing your judges. Do you know where the chief judge should tell the judges to sit? And why? I had to mute a couple people because there was a little bit of noise, so if you got muted and you want to speak up, feel free to unmute yourself or watch your background noise, please. All right. According to the rule book, the judges should all sit close enough to the speaker so that if there's a malfunction in the audio equipment, they'll still be able to hear the contestant and judge them. If there's a malfunction in the microphone or speaker, if you're in a big enough room that you need one, that should not affect the judge's scoring. They should be able to still hear the contestants and judge them fairly based on their speech, not on the microphone. Obviously, you want to also tell your judges, don't sit next to someone who you know is a contestant, because you're going to be sitting there writing on your judging form. You don't want people looking over your shoulder. All right, let's talk about the agenda. It's important that you produce, as a contest chair, a fair agenda. And some of the things to watch for is make sure none of the contestants have their education levels. So if someone's a CC and someone's a DTM, nobody knows that just by looking at the agenda. All are ranked equally. You sort the contestants in alphabetical order by their last name. You can name the chief judge if you so choose, but of course do not name any of the voting judges. Voting judges are as secret as possible from not only the contestants but all the other members. All right. Interviews. One important thing to remember, since we're doing 2 contests, sometimes people will do their first contest and then they'll interview the contestants. And they'll have an intermission, and they'll do the second contest, and they'll do a second interview. If you do it that way and you have a contestant that's in both contests, do not interview them the first time. All right? That person should not be introduced to the audience as anything other than a contestant until they've completed their competing in both contests. What I've started doing is I don't do an interview after the first contest. Anytime I do it, I wait till after both contests, and then I'll interview everybody. I mean, especially at the area and even division levels, you'll have a number of people that are competing in both contests, and it just makes it a lot easier. Speech contest rules. You'll see me mention this over and over and over. Your ultimate guide, something everybody should read before going to the contest, the speech contest rule book. One important thing to remember for the contest chair, for the chief judge, and even the contestants is in the back of that rule book, there are checklists of things you need to worry about. For the contest chair, how many far in advance you need to arrange this, who you need to contact, when do you need to set up your chief judges, all that thing. Go through those checklists. If you still have questions after reading the rule book, you can direct questions to speechcontest@toastmasters.org, and they'll respond. They're usually very quick to respond. You can even call them. They're very friendly. They're on California time, but I think they have people that get there early for us East Coast people. So do not hesitate to call or email them. They're very friendly. They're very helpful. If they don't know the answer, they will find a way to find out. If you read the rule book in the past, read it again. I mean, there are updates constantly, but it's always good to refresh yourself and keep yourself up to date. Again, be familiar with the rule book. One tip that I learned early on and I found very valuable is choose your chief judge and choose them as early as possible. That's going to be a great help to setting up your judges and helping. If you have questions, if you have an experienced person, you can go to the chief judge and get any answers. Also, the good chief judges are going to go quickly. So if you're having multiple area contests on the same day in the same area, you have a particular chief judge you want, ask them now. And both you as the contest chair and the chief judge to ensure your judges are trained. Just last week we did a similar webinar with judges training. So that's good. And there's many modules available from TI on this. Please take advantage of the checklists that are in the rule book. Use contest scripts. This is something that I didn't have available to me. I didn't know was there the first several contests I've done, and it's very helpful. This is a script of the contest, and there's numerous ones available out there. Douglas Wilson just sent out an additional one today. They got forward to all the deck members. It's also available on the resources I'll show you in just a couple minutes. But find a script that works well for you, follow the script. It just really helps either you as the contest chair or your Toastmaster of the day stay on track, keep everything fair and even as you're going through the speech. There are contest kits available that you can either buy from TI and actually get paper copies or certificates, or you can just download the PDFs as a kit, and that's free. And that you can print out all your participant certificates. You print out your first, second, third place certificates. It has all the ballots that you need. It has the timer sheets. Has everything you need to run a contest. It even has a copy of the speech contest rule book for you to refer to. There is a contest kit specific for each of the contests. There's one for table topics, one for international speech contests. There's one for humor speech contests, and there's one for evaluation. And those are different because the ballot form for the judges are different. All right, here's what you want to write down besides read the manual. http://bit.ly/d58-contest-admin. That will take you to a web page that looks remarkably like, let me find it. It's covered up. Not that. It'll take you to here. So here I have a copy of several different contest scripts already downloaded, so you can download here. And here's the one that Douglas sent out just today, the very good one. In addition, here's all the contest kits that you'll need. These are the ones current for this year that have this year's rule book in. Contest administration has among other things, this PowerPoint presentation, if you want to refer to it later. Has a copy of the rule book, has a copy of the explanation of the changes from last year, what got changed and why, and just a number of different things for running speech contests. So if nothing else, you can go there and get all those resources. Also a very neat web page to go to. You don't have to write this down because if you download the PowerPoint, you'll have it. But this takes you to an FAQ at Toastmasters.org for speech contests. And it has all the frequently asked questions that people have asked and the answers to them. Right there. All right. In the back of the contest rule book, after the checklist, there's another section that says additional resources. Check that out. Use those resources. One of those resources is this FAQ. And that's it. So I'll now open it up for any questions people have had on the presentations or questions they've had in the past on contests.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
When is the district contest?
The district contest will be at our spring conference on April 22nd, I believe the date is. So I hope everybody's planning to go to spring conference. It's in Greenville, and that's when we'll have the district level contest.
Okay. I just want to make sure my contestants mark their calendar in case of they move on to the next level, so they make availability.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You should be announcing to all your clubs not only when the district contest is, but when the division contests are, and those dates have been set. Let's see if I can find it real quick. Division contests are on April 8th, though I believe Division E is going to have their contest on Friday night, the night before, on April 7th. Check with your division director to ensure the time and place of your division contest. So all your clubs should know when the district, division, and your area contests are scheduled. Let me find, because I saw Brad ask a question. For the district option, who decides which option to choose? I assume you're talking about whether you're going to send one or two when you have the option. The district director makes that choice, and the whole time, it's always been that way. I don't know of any reason not to do that. I assume it's going to stay that way for the foreseeable future. And here's Brad's comment. I'll share with everybody, if you're not on the chat, is a way to post to the district calendar for your division and your area contest. Be sure to post it to the district calendar, and that way everybody has it available to see.
I have another question. It's Elena again.
Shoot.
I've never witnessed a contest where someone was disqualified. What is the procedure of disqualifying if it comes to that?
Are you talking about in the middle of a contest they were disqualified, or they're disqualified beforehand?
Well, for example, because of the time or some other issues.
Okay. There's a couple ways to get disqualified in the middle of a contest. One is if the contestant times out. That's not announced. What will be announced before they announce the winners is that there was a disqualification due to time. And you don't say who, you just say there was a disqualification due to time. And this is spelled out in the rule book. and then you list the winners 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
The other option for someone being disqualified, which thankfully I've never experienced, is you can have a protest. What a protest is someone, it can only be lodged by a contestant in that contest or one of the judges. And the only reasons you can protest is for eligibility or originality. So if someone's giving a speech and you're going like, you know what, Barack Obama gave that almost that exact same speech last year at some conference that I was at, you can protest that. If there's a protest, then the judges give the speaker a chance to defend themselves, and then the judges will vote whether that's a valid protest or not. Hopefully we won't run across that. Again, I've never run across that, and it'll be fine with me if I never do. It's the contest chair's responsibility to make sure everybody, are we still on the phone? You guys still there?
Yeah.
Okay, because my free conference, looks like the web just went away. But we can continue on audio. It's the chief judge's the contest chair's responsibility to make sure all the contestants are eligible. All right, that they're in good standing, they meet all the eligibility requirements as spelled out in the rule book. It's the chief judge's responsibility to make sure all the judges are eligible, and there are eligibility requirements for the judges. So hopefully, if there's any disqualifications there, that will happen before the contest starts. Any other questions?
One more question. Of the winners of club level, area level, do the results need to be submitted anywhere in the headquarters?
From the club level, you take the results and you pass those up to your division director. The division director will have a contest chair that is in charge of setting that up. On the division level, they'll be in charge of handing that up to the district director. So you just pass it up to the next level. For the international speech contest, we'll pass the results up to Toastmasters International, because those people will actually have an opportunity to compete at the international convention.
At all levels, international speech has to be reported, or at what level?
No, only the winners of the district will be passed up to TI. All you have to worry about, so you're going to be running your area contest.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to give a form, a report, and it's in the contest kits, and that will list all the contestants that qualified top to bottom. So you don't list anybody that timed out because they're not qualified, they're not eligible to move forward. But list everybody from 1 to 10 if you had 10 contestants. Don't just list the top 3. The reason is, if the top 3 can't make it, then your division director is going to call the 4th guy. And the 4th guy can't make it, he's going to call the 5th girl, So they're just going to go down the line. The highest ranking contestant that's eligible to move forward will have that opportunity.
Okay.
Robert, can you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead.
I'd like to make a comment. It's a little bit of a caveat here is that at the division and district level, it might be a good idea to have a backup for judges and backup for the chief judge because if you have somebody that does not show up and you've made sure that your chief judge is eligible to be the chief judge because there are no contestants from any of the clubs they belong to, I have been in contests where they had a change of contestant, and now all of a sudden the chief judge or one of the judges is no longer eligible to be a judge because a contestant has moved forward into an empty space that was now in a club with one of the judges or the chief judge. So it might be nice to have a backup to those positions so that you can fill those in at the last minute.
Very good point. Voice of experience. I have not run across that, but that's very good to keep in mind.
One more comment,
Good.
Robert. You made a good directive that there's only 3 ways to disqualify a contestant, and in a contest we typically outline the speaking area, and you want to be sure that you cannot disqualify a contestant for speaking outside of the speaking area. Although I know one district that tried that one year, but that's strictly something the judges may take into consideration and maybe mark them down a point or two, but that's not a disqualifying factor to speak outside of the speaking area.
Yeah, thank you. I have had people in our district say the same thing. If they put 1 foot outside the speaking area, they're disqualified. And that's just absolutely not in the rule book whatsoever.
I have one question, if I may.
You may. That's why we're here.
Just so I'm clear, table topics contest, it goes as club level, area level, division level. Does it stop at division or district?
No, we will have a district table topics contest.
And that's where it stops?
And that's where it stops.
Okay.
The international speech contest is the only contest that goes on to the international level.
Okay. Makes sense. All right. Thank you.
So, my pleasure. You know, for the area directors and division directors that ran contests 6 months ago, we call that the practice round. It's very, very important for the international speech contest in particular that you run a fair contest for everybody. People take the international speech contest in particular very seriously. They really, really want to participate on the international stage. So just give extra attention to your speech contests. Make sure they're fair, make sure they're even. We don't want any complaints. Please, if you're at a contest and something isn't going the way it's supposed to go, handle it professionally. And just pull the chief judge aside or pull the contest chair aside and say, I think something's wrong. Let's correct it before it goes wrong, before it goes too far. In the fall, we had somebody handle it unprofessionally. So we just need to make sure that we're Toastmasters, we're professionals, we're all doing our best, and we're going to treat each other professionally with courtesy and respect.
Robert, one more comment, if I may.
You may.
On disqualification of a contestant for originality, it's not only that they either have used extensively somebody else's material, maybe even somebody's complete speech, but that only no more than 25% of the international speech can be attributed to someone else. If you have more than 25%, even if you properly attribute it, for instance, let's say you give 30% of your speech is part of Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech, and you're using that as a basis for comments that you're making in your speech. If you've got 30 to 35% or more than 25% that's quoted, even quoted properly and properly cited, that is grounds for disqualification because it is no longer significantly original. So it's not just using other people's material, but using it, even if you use it correctly, if you use more than 25% of your speech is somebody else's material, even if it's spread out over the speech. You cite somebody's story one place, somebody else's story another place, and it's more than 25%, then you could be challenged on originality.
Very good point. Thank you. And I'll just emphasize what I said earlier. The only people that can lodge a protest on originality are the contestants in that contest and the judges. And any protest must happen before the winners are announced. Once the winners are announced, the contest is final. Anything you do after that could be a learning experience, but it won't change the results of the contest.
Just one addendum to that. The challengers for originality can be contestants or voting judges. I was a counter in a contest one time where it was very clear to us, the chief judge and me as the head counter, that there was significant material in somebody's speech that should have disqualified them, but we were not in a position to challenge it because it was the chief judge and one of the counters. And we both agreed, yeah, his speech was definitely something that was used by somebody else. But because the voting judges or the contestants did not challenge it, then we couldn't challenge it.
Speaking of originality, I have a question. Can contestants recycle their speech from maybe their club speeches or previous contests?
Yes, you may.
You can. Okay.
You can. The only requirement in the international speech contest is if you win the semifinal round, you have to use an entirely new speech for the final round.
Okay.
Other than that, you can use the same speech from your club all the way to Vancouver.
Okay. No, I meant, for example, in the contest in 2016, they competed, didn't win. Can they recycle a speech all over again?
Yes, you may.
Okay.
I will say that the times I've judged contests and I've seen somebody come up with the same speech from last year,
mm-hmm.
they never do well.
Mm-hmm.
I think the tendency is all the judges have heard that speech before. It feels stale. Even if it's presented well, even if it's a good speech and presented well, it's just I've never seen one perform well. So I would encourage anybody thinking of doing that is write a new speech.
Yeah.
Okay.
Robert, I saw that done in 2003. Jim Key won the International Speech Contest, the World Championship, and the speech he won that contest with was a recycle of his regional speech from the previous year. But obviously he had significantly enhanced and made it a much better speech from the previous year, but it was the speech that he had competed with in the semifinals, the regional speech the year before. But as a general rule, you're correct. If you recycle a speech that you've used before in contests, they don't usually go well. But obviously, speeches we've done in Toastmasters, that's where we find our contest speeches, is from previous years. Somebody said, "Oh, that was a good speech. You ought to compete with that one."
Makes sense. Thank you.
My pleasure. Anybody else? All right, I think we're going to wrap up. I am, of course, always available by phone or email if you have additional questions. The resources I mentioned are available. Toastmasters International is available. I'm sure Douglas Wilson's happily available to answer any questions. So do not hesitate to reach out and ask questions beforehand. If you're not sure, it's better to ask and make sure on these contests. And with no protest, I'm going to go ahead and adjourn this webinar. Thank you, everybody, for coming, and have a good night.
Good job, Robert.